Welcome in, everybody, to another Stars and Stripes sit down presented by Toyota. I'm Lauren Rosen with the 76ers, joined today by Melissa Stockwell, who is back with us. We're so thrilled to have you here. And newcomer to the Stars and Stripes sit down, Mo Bamba. Mo, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Lauren. Melissa, nice to meet
Melissa,
you.
I want to dive a little bit into your background because Sixers fans are maybe more well acquainted with Mo at this point. So, can you tell us a little bit about your background and the transition sort of from military to civilian life that's gotten you to the point where you can be a Paralympic champion and a champion to so many?
Yes, of course. First, yeah, so happy to be here. Mo, it's great to meet you, and I'm excited to cheer you on next weekend. So, my brief story is I served in the military. I was commissioned as an officer in 2002, and I was deployed over to Iraq in 2004, where a roadside bomb hit my Humvee and kind of left me without my left leg. What can be a long story, pretty short. April 13th of 2004 was the last day I stood on my own two legs. And you can imagine it can be a tough transition. I mean, suddenly in an instant, my life has forever changed, but also, up until that point, I thought I was going to be in the military for, 4 years, 8 years, a career. I mean, you never really know. So that transition of, number one, trying to figure out like a new normal of living life without my leg as an amputee and what I could still do, but also that transition from that military life that I knew so well into the civilian world. And it's hard. I mean, the military, you have that team, that constant camaraderie. It's always there, and that transition can be tough. So thankfully there are organizations in place. There are people out there to kind of help ease that transition, not just from that military, from everything in the military into that civilian world, but obviously with a physical disability now as well. So was very lucky to have the right people in my corner to kind of help me make that transition. And it's been many, many years since then, but I am really proud of what I've done with my own life. Definitely done more in my life with one leg than I ever would have done with two, but it definitely started from that day one and kind of seeing what was out there.
Well, I just kind of want to start this off by just saying, like, a lot of people oftentimes, like, we get it. They look up to athletes because athletes are on TV and we're doing, like, the cool things, shooting basketball, throwing footballs, and all of this. But I just want to point out that the real heroes are the people who provide service for this country. They provide a level of security, a level of safeness, and a level of humility while doing all of that at a very high level. And I just thought that it's only appropriate for me to not only thank them, but also thank you for your service and everything else.
That's very kind coming from you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but when I hear a story like that, and um, I hear a story like that, the first thing I think about is just injuries and how injuries are, an unfortunate part of the game. But I can't fathom to think how, such a life-changing injury can kind of help you boost and go into the second, kind of in a way, the second win, the second part of your life to where you feel like you've accomplished more on one leg than two. And I just want to ask you, like, kind of what was that recovery process physically like, and then that recovery process mentally like?
Sure. Yeah. So I think, you never think that losing a leg is going to happen to you. Like even in the military, you just think that's going to happen to somebody else, right? But then it does. And I did most of my rehab at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, which was at the time in Washington, D.C. And it was where all the wounded soldiers went from Iraq and Afghanistan. And I looked around and realized really early on that I was one of the lucky ones because I had just lost my leg. There were the soldier in the hospital room next to me had lost both of his arms. There were, men and women there that had lost eyesight. They, had lost multiple limbs. So, I mean, I couldn't really complain. I think life is all about perspective a lot. And it's really easy to feel sorry for yourself when things don't go your way. But then you look around and you realize like, wow, like I'm actually the lucky one here.
Absolutely.
And then, so that helped mentally incredibly, that to kind of have that surrounding and to see that perspective. And then physically, I'm sure I mean, obviously it's the loss of a leg, but injuries are very similar, like you mentioned, like that. It's the physical part is that waiting process, like just waiting for something to heal physically is really hard, especially, as an athlete. I mean, you get it more than most. Like, it's so hard just to sit there on the sidelines and wait while your body heals. So, I mean, it's a process. It's the little things day by day, like the small successes along the way that eventually add up to big ones.
Yeah. I guess my next question will be: I saw that you live in Colorado Springs now. It's Colorado Springs.
Yep, yep.
I remember when I was about 17 years old. I tried out for the USA FIBA U18 team, and the tryouts were held in Colorado Springs. And I remember we walked up a flight of stairs when we first got there, and everyone was just winded.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about the kind of the athletic, um, just how far ahead of the game you are by just living in Colorado Springs and living in Colorado and just getting that high altitude?
I've lived here for years and the stairs still get me. It's something about the stairs. But I do think, the Olympic Training Center is out here in Colorado Springs. And that's why my family and I moved out here about 4 years ago, so I could train. I trained in the sport of triathlon for the Paralympics. And it is not only amazing facilities, as you've seen, but also, you're right. Like, we had this advantage. We train at altitude, and we are able to, run at certain speeds. And then all we have to do is take a flight to sea level, and suddenly we're feeling faster. So it has its benefits, athletically, for sure. And a lot of people do move here and travel here, for that benefit, to kind of have that training before they go to a competition or, the games or various camps or whatnot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm kind of all over the place with my questions right now, but I'm just so fascinated with who you are and your story and kind of just the essence of you. Um, Nowadays, when you talk about basketball, everyone talks about just like, you know, being dynamic, being versatile, and being able to do, multiple things. In the playoffs, at least, I remember there was a quote, I forgot who said it, but they said the playoffs is where specialists kind of don't thrive because they're only good at one thing. And then when that one thing is taken away, it's just like, all right, what are you left with? You're a triathlon athlete. Um, can you kind of walk me through like your mindset for when you're doing all three things? Like, are you better at two of the three things or one of the three things, or like kind of how does that work for you? You know?
Yes, I think so. A triathlon, so you swim, you bike, you ride, and I think any triathlete has their best one and the one they're not so good at. So for me, my weakness is the bike, and my strength is the run. So I know that, and I know my competitors going in. We've raced each other for years, so I know who's good at the swim, who's good on the bike, who's good on the run, and kind of who has that specialty of what they're really good at. Mm-hmm. But it's probably similar to basketball, where you have a specialty, but in order to get to where you are at this elite level, I mean, you kind of have to be, you have to have success really in the whole game, even though you have your own specialty, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to that in triathlon. You have to have success in all of them and be decent at all of them, but there's definitely like a specialty, that we all kind of have.
What does your training regimen look like for like, do you do it separately or do you like kind of, because you're not, when you're playing basketball, like you want practices to be harder than the games, okay. But I can't imagine like being a triathlon athlete, like you're doing a full, like, what is that like? Like, do you like kind of segment it or do you like kind of?
Yeah, we segment it. So when we're in full training mode, we pretty much swim pretty much every day. And then I'll bike one day and I'll run the next day. So it's kind of, you switch off. And then like, let's say on the weekend, it's called a brick workout, where I'll do a bike workout, then I'll jump off the bike and go onto the run. So you kind of have that training, and you kind of do that as the competitions get closer, but it is pretty segmented. Like when we do train. Yeah. I'm curious about your training. Like, how many hours do you spend on the court, like every day?
So typically, like today was a practice day. I try to be the first one out there. It's always a race between me and Tyrese. Sometimes he's on the court like 9:30, 9:45, 10 o'clock ish. I try to beat them out there, try to be out there like an hour and a half, an hour before practice. And then obviously we go through practice, and practices, the time we have before practice is more individual. That's when you're getting like your shots up. That's when you're not doing nearly as much defensive things unless you're like directly involved in like kind of what you saw from film the night before, and then you're like, all right, I need to do some defensive reps so I can, master this. But it's a lot of shots, it's a lot of like moves, it's a lot of just like more one-on-one type stuff. The team practice is more like team defense, plays. Obviously, like sometimes you play a little bit. With 82 games, it's hard to like kind of
Yeah.
practice and
I can't
play.
believe that 82 games. Wow.
Exactly. And this is coming from a triathlon.
That definitely, I mean, we're like 6 or 7 triathlons in a year. 82 games is incredible.
Yeah, it's you definitely get used to it. I think routine is a big part of it, which I'll get to later. But yeah, it's practices is just team stuff. You run plays, you run out of bounds plays, you run side out of bounds plays, defense, and then you scout the next team depending on when the next game is.
Okay.
And then after practice, I'll probably stay back and just get more shots up, more individual work. And then I'd say in total time, it's only about like I got on the court today 9:50, got off the court probably 3 hours to be
Okay.
honest.
That's a lot then. Yeah.
But it's a lot of like stoppage and a lot of start because basketball is incline training. It's never just like you're just going.
Sure.
It's always like you're going, and then there's like a minute and a half break, 3 minute break, and then you're going again. But I heard you mention that you're familiar with the people that you're competing against. What's kind of like that like? Because it's people from all around the world, so like you see them probably six times. I don't get how that works.
Yeah, so we all so basically so I compete against other women who have a similar disability class to I have. So I'm like my disability class is called the severe leg impairment. So a lot of amputees above the knee or, injuries to both sides. And I've competed against these women, I mean, some of them for over 10 years. So we all there's these big races that we all come from around the world to compete at, whether it's a trials for the Paralympic Games or a big race. And so there's these certain events, whether, all around the world that we come together to compete against each other at. And it's just, we've been competing together so long that, I mean, we pretty much know who's going to be the first one out of the water, who is able to cycle better, or who's going to catch us on the run. Like we kind of know this because we've been doing it for so long.
Like kind of like scouting, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit do you think there is definitely more of a competitive edge to like you being a military person? Like, do you think like because like I remember when I was in college, like there was a lot of guys who were coming from like public schools and then into college, and they just didn't have like the whole routine of like, okay, I need to wake up, go to class, do this, eat at this certain time, and they kind of struggled a little bit. I know with being in the military, having a military background, like it provides you like a certain amount of structure that allows you to like allows it to bleed into the athletic field. Do you agree or disagree with
Oh,
that?
absolutely. Yes. I think it's serving in the military and, athletes such as yourself, like there's almost a certain mindset that you have. Like, I mean, you just talked about how you'd like to be the first one on the court or an hour before practice. And that is something that's almost, I wouldn't say ingrained in you in the military, but you're never on time. You're always early. Like you realize the importance of being someplace on time, like being part of a team, that you lift each other up, like through the highs and the lows of anything, but in athletics, through athletics. I mean, in the military, the values I learned, yeah, definitely have carried over into that elite athletics.
Yeah, I just can't imagine like in the military, and this is no joke, like a lot of things that you do as a team could be life and death, you
Yeah,
know? And I just can't
absolutely.
imagine like me communicating with my teammate being life or death. Because at the end of the day, it's a game. It's a game that we all love and we take it very seriously. But I just can't imagine that amount of pressure. And this is why I call you guys the true heroes, the true role models, the true, people that we should all aspire to be like. Because like I can't imagine making one small mistake or missing one small assignment and it being like the consequences be that
Sure.
dire.
Yeah,
So
that's
I just I don't know. I just think you guys are just superheroes, literally superheroes, and
great. Thank
I
you.
admire it. And it's just something that anytime I see somebody who I know was in the military, I just take a second and I just give them, kind of their flowers. So I think I always
Yeah.
talk about people.
Thank you.
Yep.
Melissa, I wonder, I know we've asked this of you in the past, but I'm hoping to ask you again. Do you have any advice for young people that are aspiring to either be part of the military or just young athletes that are aspiring to be Olympians, Paralympians, part of a team? Like, what advice do you give to young people as someone that is so decorated in both of your careers?
I would say first, as far as the military, so I have kids of my own. I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I get asked a lot, would you want them to join the military? And my question is always, if they do it for the right reason, if you do it because of love of country and you want to wear that uniform, then yes. So to anyone coming up that's younger and has a desire to serve, if you want to serve because you want to give back to the country that we live in, like, yes. I mean, how I would be an extremely proud military parent if my children did choose the military. And then I think for athletics, and Mo, I'm sure there's some agreement where sports, especially after losing a leg, but I think in general, sports is so important, and it's the being able to prove to yourself what you can do. It's the realizing that hard work pays off. It's being part of a team. It's a self-confidence, a self-worth that it can build in you and your team. I mean, I think sports is so important in anybody's life. And whether you don't have to want to be in the Paralympics or the Olympics or in the NBA, but I think just like being active and getting out, whether it's with your family or friends, or just that importance of, being active and realizing, if you have a disability, how much ability is in your disability, or just never saying you can't do something until you go and give it a try, and realizing just how crucial that is and what an impact sports can have in somebody's life.
Yeah, I think my advice to the young kids would just be ask questions. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions and don't be afraid to fail. Um, Oftentimes on the other side of failure is success. There's a saying: you fall down 7 times, you get up the eighth time. It may not even be the eighth time, it may not be the 10th time, but putting yourself in a position to be accepting to learning something new, and sometimes it won't work out, but just one, like, try it and retry it and do it a different way and figure it out. It makes you better as a person. Melissa, I just have one last question. You mentioned team, and obviously, like, you have a team in the military, but when you're running, biking, swimming, it's just you. So, like, where does your mind go when you kind of do that? Because for me, like, say if I'm not having such a hot night, like, I have four guys plus the coaching staff plus 8 more people on the bench to, like, kind of pump me up. But when you're out there, in the water, you're out there running, or you're out there on the bike, like, what's those inner thoughts like? What's kind of pumping you up as you go?
You're right, because it is an individual sport, and we all compete against each other, but I train with my teammates, every day. And I mean, they're my second family. I imagine you probably have a similar feeling with your own team. It's like, so I mean, we all train, we know how hard each other works in training. We train together. When we get to that starting line, we all want to beat each other. But if my teammate beats me, I'm truly happy for her. So you cheer each other on the race course. I mean, I'm inspired. I mean, it's a really unique dynamic that I want to be the one that wins, but if my teammate wins, I'm also really happy for her. So it's just back to team and just how cohesive a team can really be.
Yeah, it's easy to say when you don't have Joel Embiid talking smack after. No, but I definitely understand that dynamic, and there's also another saying that iron sharpens iron. So
Absolutely, yep.
it's always interesting to hear.
Mo, Melissa is going to be an honorary captain for our military appreciation night that is presented by Toyota, our Stars and Stripes game that's coming up later this month. I wonder, Mo, if there's one thing that you could take away from this conversation. I've been touched by the words you've shared with Melissa already, and I'm sure everyone that watches this is going to feel the same way. But if you could take a piece of inspiration that you might share with your teammates or keep with yourself as you move forward with the season and look ahead to this game that Melissa's going to attend, what would that piece of inspiration be for you?
Number one word I'll probably say is perspective. The fact that you just sat there and said that you lost a leg, you sat there and said, like, this could have been worse, or I was one of the lucky ones, it meant the world to me. You know, bad sports, life, anything you do in life, work, anything, it has its ups and downs. But when you have the level of humility and perspective that you show me in the 20 minutes that we've known each other, I think it'll lead to just being a successful, not only successful, but just a happy person.
Melissa, I'm curious just for a last question for you. I know Toyota's been a big part of your journey thus far. Can you just tell us a little bit about when they came into the picture for you and the doors that they've opened in order for you to thrive in a way that you were probably always meant to thrive in?
Yeah, so we talked about team, and I've been really fortunate to be had this Team Toyota team and to be on the Team Toyota team for the past probably 5 or 6 years. And it's this incredible group of athletes that we all have different backgrounds, Olympians, Paralympians. And what Toyota has done is really, they believe in us on and off the race field. Toyota, it's a car company, but it's so much more than that. It's a mobility company, and I have to have a device to be mobile. So you kind of have that connection there. Toyota has really elevated the Paralympic Games through, things like TV ads and just a large company taking note that Paralympians work just as hard as Olympians, and they want to showcase that talent. So Toyota has really helped the Paralympics just kind of, step up a notch. I feel Toyota's cheers on and off the race course. They believe in causes that I'm a part of. They get involved in the community. They support veterans. So many things. The list goes on. And I'm really excited to be there as part of Team Toyota next weekend. Mo, to cheer you guys on and just to be one of, I'm sure, many veterans that will be there that night, just recognizing the service.
I think Melissa worked just as hard as is probably a huge understatement, but I'm really happy to hear that that's being recognized. So thank you for your hard work in career 1 and career 2. I can't reiterate what Mo said enough. Like, what you do means the absolute world to all of us who get to go to work for a basketball team every day, because of people like you. So thank you so much, Mo. Thank you, Melissa, for sitting down for another Stars and Stripes sit down presented by Toyota. We're looking forward to seeing you at the game.
Yes.
And thank you again.
Thank you, Mo. Really nice to see you. Hopefully I'll meet you next weekend.
Absolutely. I'll be looking forward to it.
Bye, guys. Thank you.